The most creative thing that I found about the Daredevil finale was having Kingpin sit there. I don't know if other people have talked about this because I don't watch recaps of everybody else, but was having Kingpin sit there at the end and say, never forget, I love New York. Because those are like the two slogans that are closely associated with New York, and he used them both. Never forget for 9/11, and I love New York is always those t-shirts where you have the I Heart NY. I love New York. So, I don't that's what I've been thinking about the most is the juxtaposition of the most representational slogans to hit New York being used by Kingpin in the final of his speech to the citizens of New York when he tells them all, y'all fucked. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'm John Stark from MacMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic. And Daredevil, Born Again, Matt Murdock. They've already done season 2 to this, so there's going to be more. I guess this is somebody. I had a commenter who told me that things were going to change starting in episode 7 with Karen and Frank coming back, and that didn't happen. Well, they came back in episode 9. So still no Foggy, though. I think the conspiracy theories around his death are probably not true. I think they actually had to leave Foggy dead. I think he's probably gone for real. For realsies. Otherwise, Karen and Matt are having the weirdest conversations because they're not having them in front of anybody. So it's like, why are you having them? Why do you keep talking about this? If either one of you is in the know. So in the finale, Matt, obviously he just took the bullet for Kingpin. He's fine because of course he is. Wouldn't that be a weird second season of Daredevil Born Again? Well, Daredevil's dead. We gotta have a new one, I guess. Who's gonna be Daredevil? I don't know, Heather? But she's not blind. I don't know. Don't overthink it. I don't, whatever. So yeah, of course he survived. But he wakes up and Heather's there and Kirsten, the really sort of like underdeveloped, man, they have some underdeveloped characters in the show. Every time she talks to Matt now and she's like, listen, we need to talk. I'm like, yeah, you do. Good God, this character you have to do something with this character. Like, she's barely in the episode. She's basically there to like show some concern for Matt and then she leaves. I'm like, why does he even have a law partner at this point? Why bother? What is the point of her character? So Matt ends up, obviously, Fisk is not grateful that Matt sacrificed himself, and he sends his guy to go kill Matt because he says a dead hero is better than a captured vigilante. He wants to use Matt, the narrative of this lawyer saving his life and jumping in front of a bullet from Bullseye to, I don't know, further his tyranny. So that happens. We find out that Karen knew about Matt's situation and then called Frank, who was somewhere else, and then shows up to help Matt out as people are converging on his location to try to kill him. So Matt has some help, even though Frank and Matt, this shows a little bit, and finally in episode 9, they talk a little bit more about the dichotomy in how Matt doesn't like to kill, but Frank does. And how they're the oddest couple that you could have put of the Netflix heroes together, because I feel like if this had been Matt and Luke Cage, Luke didn't need to kill every single person he ran into contact with. So they would need to have that conversation, but it opens up a conversation that Matt has later with Karen about how he always thought he couldn't, that there was no dark, that he'd keep the darkness out or whatever, but the darkness come in, and he talks about what it was like to throw Bullseye off the roof and how he intended to do that. Breaking with a lot of tradition from some of the people who were talking about the show, and how Matt is vehemently against that. And it's, I guess, something that Matt has been struggling with all season long. And one of the things I liked is that the show finally vocalized that and acknowledged the fact that he's aware of it, and it's something that he's been dealing with. And probably one of the reasons why he's been trying to avoid being Daredevil is for that very reason, is that the last time he intentionally chose to throw Bullseye from a roof. And then he looks at Frank, who has absolutely zero problem killing anybody, and decides, well, this is what we need to do. So, but they're the only three who can really try to stop Fisk at this point. Punisher really goes for the cops who have been rallied up into this task force, and he goes after them because they all idolize him. They think, Frank being a former, that's why they have the Punisher tattoos, is because they've all taken his messaging the wrong way. So I kind of wish the episode had been longer, because it could have given Frank the reflection of sort of what Matt is telling him about, is that, when you go hard, this is the message you send, is that Frank now has all of these disciples who have turned into this task squad. So basically he's killing off his fanboys. All of these rogue cops, they all just basically want to be the next Punisher. So, Frank is obviously like, nope, not having it. So, that's the cautionary tale, but we don't get enough time to explore that with Frank, with that, because he's got to fight some of them off, and it kind of leaves it open-ended to continue next season. But I wonder if they will tackle it, because therein lies what Matt's been warning him about, with you don't need to kill everyone, because then it just kind of, what he does translates into what these other people are picking up on and becoming bad guys, and they're thinking that they're doing the same thing Punisher's doing, but they're really not. So they try to recruit Punisher. Not going to happen. Anyway, so Matt and Karen she's in the episode for a while. She helps Matt find the file so that they know what Foggy was trying to do. And through that, they find out what Fisk was doing with Red Hook, where I guess there's a part of Red Hook that is a port that is technically not part of anything. So it's outside of jurisdiction. And they already store a bunch of their art there, and that's where Fisk wants to build a casino, and they're talking about how Fisk could launder, billions of dollars, which is something that Fisk alludes to when he's sitting there talking to Vanessa. He's like, I know it was you. I know it was you. And he doesn't really say what he knows she did, just like he knows. It's like, well, there are multiple things that you could know were her, because A, she hired Bullseye to kill Foggy. That could be what you know. Or Bullseye breaking out and trying to kill him. Like, what is it that you knew? How much did you know? I have no idea. Unfortunately, the commissioner is on to him. So this is going to obviously stop everything, because commissioner is he's going to the courts. This is very like an odd parallel to life. But so the commissioner makes a mistake of saying it to the wrong person, and he ends up getting on Fisk's radar, and he gets driven to this location where there's Fisk is waiting for him with some of these task force members who are there to watch. And the commissioner is like, I'm the commissioner, you can't just, kill me. I'm matter. It's not easy to just get rid of me. And Fisk is like, really? I'll show you how easy it is. And he does his thing where he crushes the commissioner's head with his bare hands. He's to prove his brute strength. I was actually really surprised that they allowed this in the series. That they put this in the Disney Plus MCU version of Daredevil. It is, I think it's the most brutal kill we've had in any one of these shows. I know we've been pushing the boundaries of Marvel, with Deadpool and Wolverine and what we're going to show. And arguably, yeah, there are some other things in Deadpool and Wolverine, like a character having their skin ripped from their body, that are pretty gory too. But, I mean, he does collapse a person's head in Daredevil Born Again. So, there's that. And later on we see Fisk, and he's going to deliver this message, and we sort of see where, like, a lot of our recurring major characters are and what they're doing. He offers Heather a position in his administration in charge of mental health. He's like, we're going to need it. I want you to be and Heather's like, it would be my honor. She totally buys into the Wilson Fisk thing, and thinks Matt is just overreacting all the time. They're not going to be a couple for long, I feel. Like, season 2, not going to be able to still be a couple. So, I guess the big death was the commissioner. Otherwise, just a bunch of random cops. It wasn't really like another major death in the finale. So that's basically the story. We just ended with this like really creepy speech from Fisk where he's talking and he's explaining that the city's under martial law, and there's a curfew, and no vigilantes will be allowed to, he's going to get all the vigilantes. Which really made me think, and this is the problem I have with like larger Marvel content across movies and TV shows. We have too many Marvel characters to have these sort of like sweeping policies, and for me to not think about, okay, so what about the other New York heroes? Because he's in New York. He's now the mayor of New York, and we've now brought him into New York City, which is also where Spider-Man lives, and where, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, the others, like, that came from here. Like, it's cute because you're focusing on just Daredevil, like it's a Daredevil series, but I always feel like, I feel this more in the movies too, when there's like a big sequence from Earth, on Earth, and there's like a big fight, or like the Eternals. When the Eternals was happening, I was like, where are the Avengers? Like, there was some huge stuff happening in the Eternals, and I was like, how does this not catch the attention of a single Avenger? Not one of them. Like, not one of them is paying attention enough to this. What is the point of having so many of them? What is the point of having an Avengers Tower? What is the point of having a system if none of these people survive, respond to anything? There are these attacks that happen, and it feels like there should at least be some sort of like text thread or something between the Avengers where they text each other, and like one of them just goes, no, I got this. Like, at some point it becomes like we have too many characters and we keep popping up new ones. So when you think about Daredevil and the people who are in and around his universe, other than the people we've seen within Born Again, remember, Wilson was in Hawkeye. So it's reasonable to believe that Kate Bishop would be affected by this. Possibly Hawkeye, although we know he doesn't live in New York. He lives in a farm. So maybe not Hawkeye, but Kate, I mean, she did actually live here. It's reasonable to believe Echo. It's reasonable to believe She-Hulk, because Matt was in She-Hulk. But Matt was also in Spider-Man. So Matt has actually interacted with Spider-Man, who is alive. We left him. I know we're waiting for Spider-Man 4, and he's not going to be in Avengers Doomsday because we needed to conquer where his storyline is before we bring him back into Avengers. But, I mean, these characters do exist. So when Wilson is sending a task force, like, down the street, door to door, and putting the city under martial law, it makes me think, like, where are these other characters? What are they doing? And how are they reacting to these situations? And they touched on it a little bit with the shows that they had at the time in relation to the plot of the original Avengers movie, and trying to mention where those characters were, or like how they reacted to the attack on their city. Not really, not for everybody, you know. But it feels like a huge thing. It's like, there are aliens in your city. What were you doing? You were here. You have superpowers. What were you doing? So now it's a vital question of, so Kingpin has the city on lockdown. You're telling me Spider-Man's just like chilling? He's just like, well, I'm just gonna guess I'm gonna play some Xbox. You know, Jessica Jones is like, I'm gonna hit this bottle. He says no vigilantes. I guess he means no vigilantes. I'm just gonna hang out here. You know, like what does that actually mean? You know? Anyway, yeah, so I think we're kind of at a point where when you drop the hammer, and you have such a big event, and you don't bring characters in on things, and you don't mention them where they're at or anything like that. There's no discussion, and we introduce like new heroes that so we can kill them off immediately, like White Tiger. It just kind of feels, it's like it's always in the back of my head of like, where are these other people and why are they not here? And is Avengers, what's going on with Avengers Tower in the city? And it's just, I wish it was different. I wish we could use different cities. I wish that was a thing. I wish if we thought about it more, and going back to the day, we could have, I know it's like a faux pas to move somebody away from the city that they're in, but it would make way more sense if like Daredevil was in Boston and Jessica Jones was in Chicago and Luke Cage was in Dallas. You know, like if you had them spread out, at least then when something happens to their city, it doesn't feel like, well, think of all the people who live here. What are they doing right now? How are they responding to this? Because they'd have to be, because now that they're all linked together and we've brought them in, because Matt has appeared in other things up till now. So where is everybody? So those are the kind of things I think about. So did the Daredevil finale work for me? A lot of it did. But now we're getting to a point which is the same thing that I felt with some of the movies, which is, where is everyone? It's fine when like one person's missing and you're just like, oh well, the Hulk's in space. You know, but I kind of feel like Marvel doesn't understand how big of a problem this is for them, because I looked at the Doomsday casting, I was like, there are people missing from this cast list. Are you gonna make it make sense? There's some pretty obvious choices missing from this cast list of people whose character arcs we should have touched in on by now. So how are we handling this? So I feel like they don't quite understand how frustrating it is to have the depth of a character roster that they have, and then to know that these people aren't showing up and that they're not talking about them. So, no, did I expect Wiccan to show up? No, I did not expect Wiccan to show up in Daredevil, but I do expect that the New York heroes, especially the Defenders, would be somewhat reactive. And I don't think there's a plan in season 2 for Jessica, Luke, Iron Fist. I don't know, are we keeping him? I don't think people were that concerned. But I know we kept Jessica. I know she's in Secret Wars. And I know Mike expressed that he would like to return as Luke Cage. I just don't know if he is returning as Luke Cage in anything. Uh, I have no idea what we're doing with Iron Fist. I'm totally honest. I think he was the one that people were just like, I mean, maybe there's some people who thought we should keep him and return him, but his series was underwhelming compared to everybody else. So, uh, yeah, but still, I mean, She-Hulk, like Matt did have a night with She-Hulk. Where is she at? Where's Kate Bishop at? Kingpin interacted with her. So, anyway, I'm gonna give Daredevil Born Again, and I'm gonna give it an A-. I actually generally like the finale, and some of those bigger questions they're not really the fault of the showrunners. They're being told by Marvel which characters they can and can't use, so it's more of a Kevin Feige thing. And I don't know that Kevin's gonna stay forever at the top of Marvel, because eventually somebody's gonna get the blame for the movies, and it's gonna be somebody who realizes sort of and actually is able to dissect what the problems have been and why some of the movies haven't worked. It has nothing to do with wokeness, by the way. It has nothing to do with wokeness. It has everything to do with pushing forth movies and plots that aren't fully cooked, and pushing out these like world-ending, catastrophic plans that only one hero responds to. you know, God, if I don't hit this in time, we all might die. Thank God we have the Avengers. No, we don't. We have one hero. Thank God we bothered to create this dynamic and colorful base of heroes to be able to pull from at any given. Oh no, we have. Oh, we're pulling just the Punisher. Okay. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing, and I will see you guys on the other side.